think going into business, okay, there are two things. First of all, when I was younger, I was this kid who everyone wanted to be a medical doctor. I was born in Nigeria, so most times when you top school and all that, they always say, oh, you're going to be a medical doctor and all that. And I was fine with that for a very long time. I think when I got to, I think I was like 13 or thereabouts, I can't remember specifically. I had a friend in school whose elder brother was a medical student. So he brought photos of the brother in anatomy class cutting up dead people. And I think that's where my dreams for medicine died totally. Died totally.
Welcome to another episode of They Not Like Us. And today we've got an incredible conversation lined up. But before we dive in, I want to remind you to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on the powerful stories, insights, and advice we bring to you every week. And let's dive into today's episode.
Right, we're up and running, right? Welcome, Peter. Thanks for coming on the show. I just would like, if you can, just give us a little bit of a background about yourself and maybe a bit about how you got into business to start with.
That's fine. Thank you, Aaron, for having me. So basically, let's go back. I think going into business, okay, there are two things. First of all, when I was younger, I was this kid who everyone wanted to be a medical doctor. I was born in Nigeria, so most times when you top school and all that, they always say, oh, you're going to be a medical doctor and all that. And I was fine with that for a very long time. I think when I got to, I think I was like 13 or thereabouts, I can't remember specifically. I had a friend in school whose elder brother was a medical student. So he brought photos of the brother in anatomy class cutting up dead people. And I think that's where my dreams for medicine died totally. Died totally. Yes, I've always been this person that likes tampering with things. I always took things apart. So the next option was being an engineer. So I actually went to school. I studied engineering, did a 5-year course on engineering. And part of that 5-year course, in the 4th year, you have to do an internship, a 6-month internship to practice and see how work would actually be. So during this internship, I was going to work, I was enjoying it, but towards the end of the internship or middle of the internship, we went to work on Monday and I found out that, or we realized that it was around that financial crisis of 2008, 2009. We went to work on a Monday morning and like half of the office was fired, was laid off just like that. So it really touched me because I'm like, okay, I'm learning how to get into this career and I'm seeing this sort of thing happening. And if I go into this career, it can actually happen to me. Because these people, they had families, they didn't have any hints of that happening. They woke up on a Monday with plans of what they were going to do that week, and that was the end of their jobs. And they were actually really good at their jobs. They didn't really do anything. It's just because of the economy back then they were fired. So I was like, no, I don't want my life to be this way. I don't want to build up to a point and then just because I'm a line on an Excel sheet or whatever, I just get fired and have to start figuring out what next to do. So I thought about the next best thing, which was starting a business. And this was actually really gutsy because I came from a family, my extended family, nobody was a business person. But I kept reading books, I kept reading magazines, I kept reading different things. And I looked like something that was possible. So 2009, that same year, I registered my first business. I didn't do anything with it till the next year, 2010. So that's when I started my first business. That's how I got into business, basically.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, because a lot of people think, oh, you get a career, you get security and stuff like that, but it's false security because they can lay you off in an instant, even if you work in the public sector. So I was in the military for 10 years, and while I was there, again, the 2008, 2009 financial crisis hit. The government made cutbacks even in the military and laid off a lot of people.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I wasn't one of them, but they laid off a lot of people, and all them people perceived that they had that stability and
security.
That security. Yeah. But nothing's guaranteed. So, and sometimes it takes something like that for us to actually realise that, well, this isn't the safe route that everybody thinks it is. And, you might as well enjoy what you do and go and do something that you enjoy.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. So, saying that business is difficult. It's not easy to start something and to. Are you? Do you have a team, Peter, or do you work by yourself?
Oh, yeah, I have a team. I have my assistants.
Yeah.
Then I have someone else that handles the technical parts. Then the rest of the team is on contracts. That's the word
But what
currently.
about when you started in 2010? Was it just yourself, or did
Okay.
you have a team then?
My journey has actually been interesting. When I started in 2010, it was just me. Then it was a web hosting company. I knew nothing about web hosting, so I had to figure it out as I was going. But over time, I got issues over time, and I had to get in freelancers from that was Odesk. I think it's now Upwork. That was Odesk back
Okay,
then. So I
yeah,
always had to, yeah, I had to get freelancers to sort things I had to do. Then that was the first business, 2010. Then 2011, I started another business. In that business now, I had a team because it was grill. It was a grill. I don't know how to cook. I still don't know how to cook. So I needed a chef. I
yeah.
needed a chef. I needed a server. Then the grill somehow grew into about 4, 5 branches within the first year. So I needed people in all the branches. So yeah, that was my first taste. That's actually managing a full-time team.
Yeah, so looking at it, you've been in quite diverse fields, haven't you, with business? You're not sort of been in just one industry, so you've probably got a really good broad experience of business across lots of different industries. What led you to where you are today with Target ICT?
I talked about the first business, the web hosting. The second one, the grill. The grill failed in 2012. It failed. So, but after the grill, I started a couple of businesses. I started a food delivery business in Wolverhampton in 2013. I started another food business in 2014. I started two e-commerce businesses. I started a procurement business. I started I can't remember. Then I started Target ICT in 2018. And why did I start Target ICT? These other businesses, I told you, I just mentioned 3 food businesses. I don't know how to cook. I didn't know how to cook any of
Yeah,
the things then. Yeah. And apart from the web hosting business, most of those businesses were things I wasn't the, what do they call it? The point man or the main person. What I just did was manage projects and make sure the quality of the output is good. But
yeah,
and marketing, sales, marketing. And I realized that in all these things that I started, there was one thing in common. That thing was that I was able to use technology to have an advantage. So the first web hosting business, the first food business, I was able to use Google Ads. Then Google Ads wasn't really a popular thing. The food delivery business in 2013, the other one in 2014, I was able to use Facebook ads. Facebook ads were really popular. They were really easy to use back then.
yeah,
Then the procurement business. Procurement was basically back then you having a business development team and then going out to different offices and knocking. But what I did different was I didn't have all that. We had our office for the different business. Everybody was in the same place. So what we did was just publish articles. That was in 2014, 15, 16, thereabout. Publish articles online. We used to, that was drilling chemicals then. So we just published monoethylene glycol in the city, triethylene glycol in this city, a lot of articles. We just send them out on the company website. So over time, people always Googled, saw us, called us. So now,
yeah.
all these things, yeah, I always had people ask me, like, how are you doing yours differently? We have to go out. I don't see you have any business development team or whatever, but you still get a lot of people because I didn't have a warehouse. So I would always farm it out to some other business that had a warehouse, and they'd be like, "How do you get all these things?" So I always answer those questions on the different things I was doing differently with technology, and then that was what led to Target ICT because I realized at the end of the day, all the things I'm starting, what I'm really interested in is technology. What I end up doing most of the time is technology. So I just started it to help businesses do the same thing I was doing with all those businesses with technology. That's the first thing. Then I always joke that I started it to charge those people asking me those questions.
Yeah, well, To be fair, I mean that's how a lot of good businesses start. Is you've found something that you're really really good at that a lot of other business owners struggle with essentially, and you help them with that, and in return for that service they're willing to pay because getting clients and especially a lot of people struggle with the digital realm. It can be difficult for people, especially sort of small business owners who are mostly hands-on doing the craft of whatever it is, whatever it might be. The last thing they want to do is get involved in the technology and the marketing and everything
And learn
else.
something totally new.
Yeah. What about AI, Peter? Do you use a lot of AI, or you just dabble with that, or?
Oh yeah, we actually use a lot of AI. That's actually how I'm able to maintain a small team. So most of the things we try to run them through. Most of the what's the word, monotonous, most of the repetitive things, we try to run them through AI for, let's say, content creation these days. Before we used to have people write everything, but now people just
Yeah.
go through and edit or correct mistakes or correct hallucinations. Yeah, then we have actually have an AI product too that we're building to testing
Oh, yeah.
currently. Yeah, so it's just basically AI that helps people who have websites and who have people calling into the websites have an AI answer those calls and process, maybe book the first appointment or direct the callers to the right way. So yeah, we use AI a lot actually.
Yeah. To be fair, that'll take a lot of pressure off people as well, won't it? Just take some of that inbound off them and just make their life a bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use AI for everything. I think it's brilliant. Yeah, I use it as a starting point at the very least, and then I use it more than a search engine these days. I think I even ask it questions for if I'm trying to find out. So I find it quite useful. Is there
Yeah.
any specific tools that you'd recommend for people to use, or?
That's for AI or generally.
Uh, well, we'll do both. I was talking about AI, but let's do both. Let's start with AI and then see what else you
Okay.
recommend.
For AI, I think for the bots, I feel most people use ChatGPT and OpenAI, but I feel Anthropic's product is much more solid. Claude is much more
Yeah.
solid. Then for people here who are concerned about their data, where their data is going, you can always use Llama. That's the one from Meta. You can install that on your own system, so no data goes out of that
Oh, okay.
system, yeah, out of your
That's
office or thereabouts. And I think that's helpful with these GDPR and things that we have to deal with these days. Then, yeah, I think
yes.
generally, I've always been a big fan of open source. So, for instance, for calendar booking, a lot of people use Calendly. I suggest that they can use them something like Cal.com. Cal.com is like Calendly, but you can install it free of charge on your system. For email marketing, email management, a lot of us have been using MailChimp for a very long time. But
Yeah.
when you get a lot of subscribers, you get a lot of emails getting sent out, it gets a bit too expensive. So for that, I usually advise people can go for something like Sendy. Sendy costs like $60 lifetime, nothing else. Then you connect that with an Amazon account. Amazon, you can send millions of emails for less than $10, and your email marketing is solved. So yeah, so things
I
like
didn't
that.
know about that one, to be honest. That's a good little tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. So, and are they the things that you use the most? I take it that's the stuff that you use a lot.
Okay. Things I use a lot.
Yeah.
What do I use a lot tech wise? Funny enough, I use what do they call it? Like I said, I use Carl. I use Calendly. I use Carl for booking of this thing of booking of appointments. What else? What else? For AI. Like I said, I use Claude. I like using Claude. But when we have to build, then yeah, you have to use the API. That's the one without the interface. So you just build from use your own front end or link whatever you're building to the
Yeah.
interface. Yeah, what else do I use a lot? The funny
Do you use
thing
any?
is that,
So
yeah,
I was just going to ask you the sort of apps for like video editing. Do you know like you get the someone will create from a script and they'll create. I think like Inovio.io or something similar, and they create a video
Oh,
from
okay,
a
yeah,
script.
yeah,
Do you
yeah. Okay,
use anything
for
like
for
that?
video, I think I've tried a couple of them. I've tried video, vidyo.ai, and Opus Clip. But
Yeah.
currently, I have an editor for my content, so I actually prefer the editor doing the content, because I noticed the ones from these AI generators, they basically, a lot of times they just end up just randomly selecting things that don't really resonate with people. Then, okay, I think another thing for landing pages, yeah, I just thought of that. There's this Gamma, I think it's Gamma.ai or Gamma.ai, I can't remember. You can use that to generate presentations, landing pages, websites, and co, just with the prompts. So, yeah,
Oh
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah. I've
another,
not used
yeah,
it, but I've seen that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that looks great. Um, so obviously, like all these technologies you can use to enhance sort of business operations and especially efficiency, like with AI and stuff like that. What obviously you working with other businesses. What challenges do you see commonly with these other businesses, and how do you help them overcome them? Really?
One of the challenges I see is a lot of them just don't know what's which way to go, because the thing about tech is that every day you have 10 or 100 new apps, 10 or 100 new tools to do the same thing. So a lot of them know they have this problem, but they are not too sure where to go or what to do, because there's like information overload with the technology tools and all that. So let's say there's one example I like giving. There was around the pandemic, there was this textile manufacturing company I dealt with back then. So it was spread across 3 continents. The founders were across 2 of the continents. And the funny thing, they were about, I think they were set up like in the 60s or 70s. They were about 50 years old there, about the company. But the funny thing was that they were still using paper and sheets, Excel sheets, for
Yeah.
all their inventory, their manufacturing, their sales, everything. And
Wow.
it was practically a nightmare, because the founder stayed in the UAE, the managing director stayed in the UK, so, and the team were in Africa. So the problem now was that most times, let's say they want to find out what they have in stock, or let's say they want to find out how much they're supposed to have, or let's say they want to know what the vendors they have, their vendors are owing them, or their vendors and their wholesalers basically are owing them. They would practically need to wait for like 2 weeks or more for everybody to gather all the records and then give a snapshot, and it was never accurate. So the son, who was the manager director, was close to me. He talked about this to me. I looked at it, and what we did for them was create an ERP. It's called an enterprise resource planning interface. So what that did was it created a single place that was web. I was about to say cloud, but just internet was on the internet.
Yeah.
Yes, that was on the internet. So they could just, anybody, the sales staff, the inventory managers, the CEO, the everybody could, when they did anything, they could just log in, put in what they did, and it gives the founder or whoever wants to know what they want to know a real-time view of what was happening with the company. So I think that's one way. It's a bit over the top, but yeah, one way people can improve with
Yeah.
technology.
So obviously, with the technology seems to be advancing really quickly. How do you and your business keep up to date with that? With the trends and how quickly things are changing.
We always test new things. We always test new things, because like almost every week, more than twice a week, we always get new subscriptions or trials or whatever. Log in, test these things, see if because a lot of times what's on the package and what's inside are not the same. So we test a lot of
Yeah.
these things, test new things. We read a lot of these publications and co in the tech industry. I do a lot of podcasts and videos. Most times I walk like an hour every morning. Most times I have my earpiece on and I'm listening to something either work related or
Yeah.
something. So so that way you're just absorbing the latest things, taking notes and seeing what's the fluff and what's garbage and what makes sense and what doesn't, basically.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to go about it, to be fair, because I suppose until you try these things, you don't really know what's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, there's so many people out there saying, "No, this will do this, this will do that," and 9 times out of 10, they don't deliver, unfortunately.
Yeah, true.
So, okay, that's interesting. So, so I've read the bio about yourself as well, and part of it describes you as a digital nomad almost, where you work from different places, move around. How does that life suit you, and what's the benefits or the drawbacks of living that way?
I think one of the benefits is you always feel at a point you always feel like there's there's chaos. You always feel chaotic at a point. I've actually slowed down the traveling because of the called the podcast and all that. But previously, because I actually have to, I tried it, but you're not sure of the internet wherever you're going. You're not sure of the sound, the noise. You're not sure of a lot of things. But before I started recording my podcast and all that, I used to travel a lot. And it's fun because one of my favorite things is traveling. One of my favorite things is traveling. Right from when I was a kid, I always used to read a lot. I used to travel through books. I always used to read books about different places, I love Asian places a lot. Places where you know that maybe 2,000 years ago there were people there, and I visit them and I see signs from long ago. I love that very much. So I think it helps with my mental health a lot because it's exciting. It's something I love doing. Yeah, so I'm always in a really good mood and in a really good headspace when I'm traveling. But like I said, it's always chaotic because you might go to a place and the internet, you can't get reliable internet, or you go to a place and probably the hotel or whatever you checked into is just next to a construction site, and I can't do with noise. I can't do with noise at all.
No,
so things like that.
I got two very loud dogs. Makes my life difficult enough, so I can imagine that's a bit of a challenge. Your podcast, where can people find your podcast?
Okay, the podcast is it's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, but to just the central place where you can get all those other links is techyourbusinesspodcast.com.
Okay.
So from there you can find wherever else it is.
No problem. I'll link that in the show notes anyway as well, so people can get onto that. I just wanted to get that on there so we make sure we cover where people can find you if they wanted to find you as well. But we'll just go back to it a little bit to sort of traveling and that. What are some of your favorite destinations that you've been to then?
I love. I think I love Istanbul. I stayed there for a while, and why I loved Istanbul was because it's like, and when I was younger, I used to read a lot of these Greek stories, the heroes, the Iliad, the Odyssey, things like that. And when you go to places like Greece, like Italy, like Turkey, that's former Cappadocia, you see you see Medusa's head, you see the Bosphorus, you see things. I see things I read in books from far back. So, but what I love Istanbul apart from that is it feels what do they call it? The weather is good and it feels a lot like where I grew up. So I think that's why I love it. I love Istanbul. I love Greece too. Athens, Greece generally. Greece it's a lot of my childhood. Has a lot of my childhood memories. I can't have enough of it.
That's good. I've just come back from Cyprus actually, and they have a mix between Turkish and Greek sort of. That's quite nice, and obviously the weather's really good there as well. It's a lovely place to go. I do like that kind of part of the world. It's just nice temperature and everybody's relaxed. It's a nicer way to live rather than being here in the rain and the chaos. Used to be. So how do you manage your work-life balance really when you are sort of traveling or even when you're at home really? It can be difficult running a business, and especially if a lot of people struggle to actually switch off and take that time for themselves because they're not constantly thinking about it and constantly doing stuff. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, I think that's actually why I started traveling, because the first few years of my career, okay, I learned this recently, maybe 4 years ago, but I learned that to live a whole life, you end up balancing four things, which are your health, your wealth, which is work, your relationships, and your spirituality. You need to balance those four things. But when I look back at when I started my career, my business, I was just focusing on my wealth, my work. So back
Hmm.
then, I would wake up. Not I would wake up. I would be at the office by 6:30 every morning. The office was like 40 minutes away from my house. So imagine when I had to wake up and prepare myself. Every morning I had to
Yeah.
be I used to be at the office by 6:30. Then I'll be there till maybe 8 p.m. or thereabouts. Go home, have a meal, sleep, do the same thing. I used to do it 7 days a week. I never had time for myself, never had time for health. I was really overweight. I was really I think back then, if I climb a flight of stairs, I'm breathing like like I'm totally gone.
A horrible feeling,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. But
Yeah.
I think later that was after the pandemic, and I realized that I wasn't really, I wasn't really getting the best out of my life, if I'll put it that way. Because yes, I was working really hard and all that, but I started my fitness journey last year. Started being fit and walking, going to the gym and everything. And one thing that came out of there, which made me realize I wasn't really fully living my life back then, is that these days I tell people that feel 10 years, I feel younger than I was 10 years ago. I feel
Yeah.
younger than I felt 10 years ago because now I feel really agile. I can just wake up and walk for like 5, 6, 7, 8 kilometers and I won't breathe hard or anything. I couldn't do that before. I I sleep a lot better. Sleep a whole lot better. I've quit a lot of things. I don't eat. I don't take soda. I don't take alcohol. I don't take so many things anymore. I watch what I eat. I reduce my portions. Just so many things. I've lost a lot of weight also. I think back when I was talking then, I used to be about 108 kilos. I'm currently 82.6 as at this morning.
It's
So
a big thing. Yeah.
yeah, and back then, yeah, I used to sit all day because of the nature of my work and all that. Back then, I practically all my joints was on fire. My back, my knees, everything was on fire. So I think I live a better quality life now that I've added other things in. I'm more productive even than I used to be when I used to stay in the office all day.
Yeah, but did you sort of make that change gradually over time, or did you just say, right, I'm doing this now, and just went on a health fitness
When I
transformation?
tell, yeah, when I look back, I actually attempted to make that change a lot of times. Um,
Yeah.
2010, 2010, I was starting to get overweight. So I think there was a point where I had, they called it juvenile arthritis then. So all my joints were I just woke up and all my joints were hurting. They said it was my weight that caused it then and what uric acid, whatever, from alcohol. I used to call alcohol then. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut off this. But you know the journey. You try these things, maybe 3 months, 4 months, and you're back to default. I tried it in 2010. I tried it in 2015. I lost a lot of weight in 2015, and I was back to default in no time. But in 2020, 2021, I realized that my parents, I realized that my dad, from as long as I remember, since I was a child, my dad has always exercised every single morning. Every single morning, does jumping jacks, does squats, does everything. I think he's currently almost 75 or 80 now. If you see him walking, he's so agile and everything. And I'm like, okay. I should really take this serious because I don't want to get to an age where probably I'll need to be living on drugs. He doesn't take any drugs for anything. He's almost 80 and
No, that's
it's
good.
all, yeah,
The,
it was
the thing is,
inspiring. So I'm like, yeah.
yeah, older, you don't want to not be able to do anything. You want to have that quality of life, don't you? To be able to get about
Exactly.
and do things and actually enjoy life still.
Yeah, so
So
I think
yeah, that's
20,
important. So,
2022, I just decided to take it serious. And this time I didn't try to jump like I was in, because then I'll just jump in and change my life totally, and then I won't be able to uh, continue
yeah,
with that. So this time
yeah,
I
that's
started
the
with
problem.
small steps. Yeah,
A
just
lot of
jump.
people do that and then can't maintain it. Yeah, That's the
It's
problem. So,
difficult.
what's your fitness routine look like at the minute? Do you lift weights and do cardio as well,
Yeah.
or is it anything specific that you do?
Okay. Yes. So what I do, I first of all, I make sure I walk between 6,000 steps above every single day. So I do it first thing in the morning so I don't forget. Then I have an exercise bike in my sitting room. I make sure I use that every day. I'm still just to boost up the cardio. I have a bicycle. I try to ride. I try because I'm not really there yet with the bicycle. Then I go to the gym 3 times a week. So I lift. I go to the gym mostly for lifting, just full body chest, abs, forearms, just like that. Yeah. So
That's
basically,
good. Do you go by yourself, or you have a partner, or anything like that to train with, or?
no, I go by myself. I go by myself. I feel, I don't know why, but I feel most times I'm more motivated when I do things myself. Because most times you might go with someone else and the person now loses steam halfway and then you lose steam because the person lost steam. Yeah.
Yeah. That can happen, I suppose. I always train with somebody, but that's because the gym for me, I've always gone to the gym. I love it, but it's always been a bit of a social thing for me as well. So I go and
Mm,
I chat, I train, and do a bit of
yeah,
both. But yeah, everybody's different. I mean, some people like to just go in there, put the headphones on, zone out, and just focus on
that's
what they
me.
need to do. But I mean, to be fair, whenever I've done that, I probably do get better workouts out of it. But I like the social element as well, so I try and make the
Yeah,
most
so,
of that.
so that means you're probably an extrovert.
Sorry.
I said that means you're probably an extrovert.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I think I'm a pretend extrovert. I think I'm an introvert. Really tends to be an extrovert. I don't know why or how that works, but that seems to be the way. Um, so obviously, health and fitness can be quite difficult, but and you said how it's made you feel better and stuff. Do you think it's helped your business life and your work life?
So much. So much. Like my
Yeah.
brain, I sleep so much better, first of all. Previously, I always had challenges to sleep back then. I found it difficult to sleep. I found it difficult to stay asleep. Now I sleep so well these days. My brain is a lot more clear and focused. I think back then I was stay in the office from 6:30 to 8 p.m. all day, and then I just distract myself throughout the day. But now I'm able to. I limit my work these days. I try to work just between 8 and 4 or 8 and 5 on weekdays.
Yeah.
That's when I do schedule serious work. And when I work then, I find myself more focused. I'm able to pick this thing, do it, pick this thing, do it, pick this thing, do it, compared to me of before, where I was just so scatterbrained and this thing. So yes, it's helped a whole lot.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, if you're not focused, you can spend all the time you want there, but you're not getting any quality work there. You're not getting anywhere with it, are you? So
And everybody
I've been
feels
there.
you're working so hard.
Yeah, yeah. But really, you're just staring at the screen, nothing going in. Right. So obviously, part of this podcast, obviously, just talking about business and stuff like that. But it's trying to be a diverse podcast, but we're going to cover lots of different areas and lots of different things.
Yeah.
If somebody was thinking about starting a business or being an entrepreneur, start on their own, what advice would you give them, especially if they're going to go into something along the lines of what you're doing, sort of marketing and that kind of, or using tech to make businesses more efficient? What kind of advice would you have for people looking to start out from scratch?
I think one thing I always say for people who want to start out, I was a business mentor for a while, so I had to deal with that a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Is that you shouldn't get stuck with planning because most of the best ideas we have in this life never come out. Most of them get stuck in planning. And that's because planning seems like you're doing something. Planning seems very convenient. It seems like you're working on the idea, but you're not really testing the idea in the market for people to actually validate it for you. So that's why I really say don't. And a lot of that planning too comes out from fear. It comes from a place of fear too. So what I usually tell people is it's scary. It's scary to start. It looks complicated and it looks so intimidating most of the time. It still does to me a lot of the time too. But there's this quote by JP Morgan I learned recently, and it just captures everything I feel about it, which is go as far as you can, and when you get there, you can go further. So how I always illustrate this quote is using a mountain. If you look at a mountain like maybe Mount Everest, which is the tallest mountain, if you're on ground zero, you're at the floor, and you look up, you can't see the top of the mountain. You see a cloud, you see the clouds, you see different things. You would never see the top of the mountain. And that's how business is. You want to start, you just see this really big thing in front of you. You don't even know where you're going to, you don't know what's in front of you. So what I say is just take that first step, no matter how small it is. Put your money where your mouth is. Buy something, just invest something in the business. Take that first step. So climbing Mount Everest, when you climb to maybe the middle or 3/4 of the mountain, you start seeing the peak. Business, I don't think you ever see the peak in business, but I think that illustration, the more steps you take, the clearer the journey becomes, and the more you're able to do. So that's why I say take the first step.
Yeah, no, I see that, because it can be overwhelming at the start when there's so much to do, and like you say, like there's so many options, and people just get kind of paralyzed by choice and indecision. Really, they don't know what to do. So your business then, what do you envision for the future of your business in the next few years? What are your goals? What you're looking to achieve?
I think basically for my business, I actually see my business as a hobby. So it's just something I enjoy doing, because a lot of times I tell people that probably I'm supposed to be on a consulting corner, and I forget myself, and I'm just giving everything, away. So it's something I really enjoy. But going into the future, what I see for the business is just basically me doing the things I enjoy, which is just solving the problems and everything, having a bigger team that does a lot of these things that are farmed out. So at least we can, everybody works according to the process we have within the business. So that way, I can spend more time on my hobbies, spend more time on traveling, which I enjoy, spend more time with my plants, and still do what I enjoy, which is just solving. I enjoy solving problems generally, not only tech. So so just solving problems. That's what I enjoy doing. I think it just keeps my brain active. So I think that's it. Just grow it into something that lets me do more of what I enjoy, and it keeps helping people to the best.
I think that's a really good approach, to be fair, especially if you can, you can enjoy the journey, then it makes everything so much easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Right, I've got a question for you. If you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Younger self. I think what I'll tell my younger self is always, 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 always be ready, always be open to ask for help. Because looking back, I was this person, I think to a large extent, I still am this person that would see a problem and want to figure it out myself, when it's easier to just call someone who has figured out that problem before to save me days, weeks, months, and solve it. So I think, going back, because I learned that from one of my aunts. I knew that if she had a challenge, she doesn't even bother thinking about it. She just thinks, who do I know? And she just calls, and the problem is basically solved. So I think that's what I'll tell my younger self. It would have helped my younger self with save a lot of time, spend a lot of time more wisely, learning to ask for help when needed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people when they're younger, especially young men, are a bit too proud to ask for help, aren't they? And want to do it themselves. Just kind of want to prove that they can do it by themselves.
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot. Right, I'll pivot a little bit now to just something, just personal. It could be absolutely anything. What kind of tech gadget? So it could be like a personal tech gadget. It could be something for work. Can't you live without, and why?
What tech gadget can't live without? I think probably my earbuds.
Yeah, you constantly got them in.
Yeah, I think I have them practically all day, except the battery is low. Because two things: I love music. I love music a lot. So most times, if I'm not working, or if I'm working, sometimes I just like having music in the background, and the what do they call it? The noise cancelling, just cancelling this thing canceling everywhere away. One funny thing is that even though I help people implement tech and all that, I don't really like tech that much around me.
No.
I'm a bit paranoid, so like my friend had like I won't have Alexa or something around me, never. I don't want anything
'Cause it's
listening in.
Yeah, it's quite scary because these things are constantly listening to us, aren't they?
Honestly, I don't. Yeah,
You're
so
talking about something, and then you go on your phone, and then it's offering you ads
it's
about
right there in
that thing
front
that you
of you.
were talking about. Yeah, it's terrifying what they can do.
Yeah, so I'm actually very tech averse. I used to love gadgets when I was younger, but the way I think everything just monitors you these days, so I just keep what I have to a minimum. So even I used to have a to-do lists app I used to use from 2013 or 14. These days, I prefer using paper.
Yeah,
So
fair one.
yeah, so
Do
it's a
you
bit of
use
an irony.
TikTok? Do you use TikTok, Peter?
TikTok. What do you say?
Do you use TikTok?
Oh, TikTok. The
Yeah.
only TikTok presence around me is just the TikTok for the podcast, and that's all.
Yeah. Because I only ask because there's a lot of controversy around TikTok and how they use data and what they're doing. And
I don't have it on my phone.
So, because I upload stories, so when you upload a story to, rather than post a story to TikTok, it'll like automatically suggest music, and it just obviously it's I assume it's AI, but the music or the talking behind it, like if you put a picture of a dog on, it's talking about dogs, so it knows, like it's reading that, and the level of information and that it must be taking from you is unbelievable. It's probably the worst one.
Honestly, I don't have the app on my phone. It's
No.
one of the people I work with does all the uploads from the desktop. I don't even have Facebook on my phone. It's that bad.
No.
Like if I want to use Facebook, I use the mobile web because I don't like apps.
Yeah. I can't live without these things because they just pass so much time, don't they? And I'm just sat there scrolling, just doing that. It's really bad, but I'm just hooked. But no, I completely understand not of them on the phone, to be honest. So they're a bit intrusive, to say the least.
Yeah.
You said you love music. What's your favorite music? What kind
I
of
actually
music do you
listen to everything. I love classical music when I'm working. I love classical music when I'm working because it's just it just blends into the background. It's calming. When I'm working, maybe if I just want it around the house on the weekend or something, it just plays from the sound system. Then I like Afrobeats a lot, and rap, hip hop. I love hip hop, old hip hop. Eminem, DMX time. Yeah, when I'm working out, I love hip hop when I'm working out. So I like music generally. But those specific times, I like for work, I like classic. For the gym, I like hip hop. Then any other time, I listen to any other thing.
Oh, nice to suit the mood. I like that. Right. So obviously, you said you've got a TikTok for the
podcast.
And obviously you shared the stuff before. What I'll do is I'll put anything that you want listeners to see or view. Just let me know at the end, and we'll pop it in the show notes so people can find you and find your show and learn a bit more about you. Probably, unless there's anything you'd like to share at the minute, I've got one last question. Is there anything that you want to cover that we haven't gone over, or that you want to bring up or ask?
What else? Okay, just ask. Maybe something might come up.
Okay, so the last question I got for you is can you share with us one memorable experience? So of your business journey, really. So the most memorable thing, really, or something that stuck with you. It could be something new, it could be something old, but the most memorable experience in your journey. And if you've got nothing business-wise, then we could talk about your travels or something that's really stuck with you.
I think I would go with my travels because business, I can't really remember anything. I think the only memorable things I remember maybe the things that when things went wrong, like when we had a coding error with one of my SMS sites and it just cleared out our cleared out our entire balance. That's one. I
Oh.
think, one other time when I had e-commerce sites. Okay, one of the e-commerce sites I had, one of the first ones was selling, I don't know if you know this, stun guns, stun flashlights for self-defense
No.
and pepper spray. Like, they have the electric shock in front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the first e-commerce sites I had was selling those self-defense gadgets. I was advertising on Facebook fully. So that was 2013, 2014, thereabouts. So we were actually moving a lot of these things through Facebook because a lot of people wanted these things. We were first ordering from the US. Then I later discovered the manufacturer for the US people was in China, manufacturing at like 1/5 of the price. So we moved to the manufacturer in China with our label on it. It was doing so well. And then I wake up one Monday morning, I go to work, and the normally busy phone and all that, everything is so quiet. I'm wondering, okay, what's wrong? What's happening? Nobody's calling, nobody's emailing, nobody's ordering. I now go into my email and I see an email on Sunday evening from Facebook that everything has been shut down. Why did they shut it down? According to them, I'm selling weapons.
So they just shut your business down basically overnight.
They just shut everything down. So I think I learned a lot of lessons from that because at the point where they shut us down, Facebook was our only source of sales. So you notice once the ads went off, we didn't get any calls, nothing. Apart from that, we were expecting a shipload of those things because we used to buy them, stock them, and ship them out. We were expecting a shipload of those things. And apart from then, we didn't know any way else to sell them. I had gotten a team of people to answer calls, to dispatch, to do everything. So I was so confused. How am I going to pay these people? How are we going to sort everything out? But funny enough, we're lucky because what happened was that people who call in or people who order but don't buy, we had a database of all of them. I think it would be difficult with this GDPR now, but that was 2014, 2013. So it was 2014. So it was different then. So we had a database of everybody. So what we did after one day of confusion, obviously, was call everybody. Funny enough, we were able to make sales from everybody there. We put them on these classified marketplaces. We tried Twitter ads. They weren't that good, but they moved some of them. Google ads moved some of them. So little by little, we actually sold everything. And then I learned that lesson, never, ever, ever, ever to depend on one place for my sales.
Yeah. This is the problem with these platforms. I mean, they can just change overnight and take things away from you, can't they? In an instant. That's the problem. That's why you need to have a bit of resilience at least, to have your own site or something where stuff can continue.
Yeah, I think for travel wise, I think the most memorable thing that happened was the first time I experienced winter.
Yeah,
because I actually grew up in the tropics. I don't think I had experienced any temperature below maybe 28 degrees or 25 degrees at worst. And then I get on a plane and I land in where was that? Amsterdam? No, not Amsterdam. Schiphol in the Netherlands. Schiphol Airport. Yeah. And okay, people have been telling me, okay, if you go there, it's actually cold. I might grow up with air conditioners, so I felt okay. Air conditioners go down to like 16 degrees. I was like, oh yeah, it's cold. I'll just get a jacket and all that. And then they opened the plane it was a KLM flight. Get to Schiphol, open the plane, and it's like they just dump you in a deep freezer. I'm wondering what is this? Like I had the jacket, everything. It wasn't working. It took almost 2-3 weeks to get used to that. It was horrible.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be worse here, isn't it? The weather, but Amsterdam even. Yeah. No, I don't. I'm trying to go the other way. I want to go and live in the heat. Yeah, I bet that took some adjustment. That
it did. A lot of it.
Yeah. How do you find the cold now? Still don't like it, or?
No, I actually like the cold. I'm in between. I like the cold because everywhere seems so clean and everything when there is cold. But when the heat is there, you see you get mold and all that, and everywhere is a bit annoying.
Yeah.
So I'm in between.
What about going home? Do you go home a lot? Have you still got family at home, or is
Oh
is
yeah,
your
yeah.
family?
I'm actually currently in Port Harcourt where I was born. I'm currently in
All
Port
right.
Harcourt where I
Okay.
was born. Yeah. So
So
my entire apart from my mom stays here, my brother stays here. My mom had a cataract surgery back in September. She had the first eye September, the second eye February. So I've mostly been around to take her for
yeah,
follow up and all that. Yeah. So
yeah, that's not very
yeah.
nice, that is it? That's good. That's nice. Well, it's been great to have you on the show, Peter. Is there anything else you wanna share, or any messages that you want to give out to any of the audience? Or
I think it's just the same thing I said earlier. That I think just step out with confidence, step out with courage, build your confidence, do those small things. Because I read this thing from Jeff Bezos where they say one of the worst things you can do is dying with regrets in life. And
yeah,
the way a lot of us live life means we are going to die with regrets because we are going to die with a lot of things we meant to do, we felt we were going to do, but because we were stuck in planning or because we were prevented by fear, we didn't do those things. So I think it's better to actually try them because what's the worst that could happen is not as bad as you feel it is. And for a lot of those
yeah,
things that seem difficult, there's this thing I always tell people that it's not hard, it's just unfamiliar. Why do I say that? Think of the things you're doing. Okay, recording, using this software to record this podcast. Think of the first time you recorded the podcast. Think of how hard it was
yeah,
for you. Think of the first time you
yeah,
drove a car, the first time you rode a bicycle. But now you drive your car, you ride a bicycle without even thinking of what you're doing. So I think that's the thing with life. Don't be afraid, just learn. The more you do,
yeah.
the more you learn, the bigger the person you become, and the more challenges you're able to handle.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think a lot of people, from my experience, because I've been guilty of it myself, is they worry about what other people think too much, rather than just be themselves and do what they want to do. They
Yeah.
over, they really really worry about other people's opinions and stuff. And I think I'm past that now. But I mean, I was in that position for
And
a
it's,
long time where I was really worried
yeah,
about what other people say or what they would think about me. And ultimately, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't care.
it doesn't matter.
I don't
And
care.
most times they're not even thinking about you.
No, they're not. Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody, because you're the center of your own life, everybody thinks that, everybody's talking about me or thinking about me all the time. But most of the time, people are not even interested. They got their own stuff going on. So yeah, no, that's great advice. I appreciate that. Right, well, I'll wrap it up there. I really appreciate you coming on and spending the time, and I hope things go well with your business in the future and with your health and fitness journey. Yeah, and like I say, I'll share how people can find you in the show notes, and then hopefully some people can discover your podcast and learn even more about you.
Definitely. No problem at all.
No worries. All right, thank you very much, Peter. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
There you go. This is just stop recording. It's just doing this uploading thing now, I think.
Okay. How long have you been?
Thanks again for being part of this journey. Stay tuned. We've got even more great conversations coming your way.